Okay, thank you. All right, we're going to, so RYLA, Rotary Youth Leadership Awards. We're going to hear from myself, Sparkie, our RYLA chair, and also two of our junior counselors. We've got David Phillips and Melanie Sousa with us. They both attended RYLA and then came back this year as junior counselors. RYLA is led by our youth, and we're going to hear first from David for a few minutes and then from Melanie. David, the floor is yours.
Awesome. Well, hey guys, it's nice to see you all. The video that you guys were about to see actually had me as the main star, so I really hope it doesn't load because that is one of my biggest regrets in life is doing that video because I was a year younger and when you look back on yourself when you're young and you see yourself in a video and you hear your voice, you don't enjoy that at all. So I really hope that video doesn't load. But regardless from that, one of the things that I'm here to talk about is my whole RYLA experience. And I just have to say, RYLA is awesome. Okay, there's no other fancy or formal terminology to put it. RYLA is a game changer for a lot of people. It was a game changer for me, and it's a game changer for a lot of people I know. The main things that they preach are, awareness and leadership and, being conscious of others. And those are all things that while I had foundations of, because of my upbringing, RYLA did an amazing job of instilling, those 3 days that you were there are some of the biggest 3 days of your life. And for some people, those 3 days could be the difference between, one path and another path. I will say 3 of the most important people in my life I met through RYLA, and I would not have known them otherwise. It's funny, one of them lives right across the street from me, and I didn't even know she existed until I went to RYLA. And so it's small things like that RYLA brings people together, and it teaches them, all these amazing things about leadership and, like I said, awareness. And those are things that not everyone learns in their day-to-day life, and sometimes they need to learn. I definitely, because of it, I have a lot of goals in my life. One of them is to join the military. I want to be an officer in one of the military branches. And, leadership is a very, very important part of that. And that's one of those things that I was able to practice, especially through my ability and my privilege to be a junior counselor at RYLA this year. I was able to practice, leading groups and, and to practice those things that I had learned a year prior, as my experience as a conferee. And, those are not things that I get to do on a daily basis. And, when you're able to practice those things like leadership and, to talk to other people and meet people, because, my circle isn't very diverse, but RYLA is probably one of the more diverse places that I've ever been. And that was also a game changer for me. I get to meet other people, different cultures and, different backgrounds and upbringings, and I get to interact with them and to learn about them. And it's amazing. And RYLA has that ability to bring people together like no other event. And, I credit a lot of my, a lot of who I am to RYLA because of it. A lot of my happiness, the people that I mentioned prior, the 3 people that are, irreplaceable in my life, that would not have come without RYLA. My happiness and also some of my, personality traits that I try to, build up, I credit that to RYLA. Okay. So, in terms of, whether kids should go to RYLA or not, there is no question that they should. The year that I went rather, I've seen kids that they went there and they were really, really quiet. They obviously didn't really have many friends, or if they did, they didn't have any friends there. But by the end of the event, they're dancing with everyone else and they're smiling and they're laughing. And it's one of the most amazing things to see. And you don't get that, with a lot of other events. The culture is amazing, and it fosters that foundation of respect and just mingling and coming together as people, you don't get that anywhere else. And I know I'm repeating myself a lot, but I can't communicate that without repeating myself a lot, because it's one of the most important things that I think, for humans, is that we need to be able to mingle and to come together, as people from different cultures. And, that's something that RYLA does amazingly. And, as a junior counselor, that was probably one of the best experiences I ever had. It was really stressful at first because I had to prepare a speech, and I don't necessarily like speaking in front of a bunch of people. So that was kind of like, yeah. But other than that, it was an amazing experience. You know, my group was amazing. You know, that's one thing. There's no one at RYLA that I have met who is a below average or subpar person or human rather. Everyone that goes there, you know, comes in amazing and they go out even more amazing. And that's one thing that I've observed about RYLA. And
David,
yeah,
thank you so much for sharing your experience. We'll have questions for you later, I'm sure. Melanie, tell us about your RYLA experience, please.
Hi. So my name is Melanie. I just finished my junior year in Miami Senior High School. So that's just kind of a background on me. So I was like David was saying, I was one of those people that wasn't really out there. Like leadership and like mingling with my peers and stuff wasn't really fostered where I was from. And all of my activities growing up have always been really independent. So I've been a babysitter since I was 13 years old. And I've always been dedicated to my studies, and whatever free time I had, I just put all into music. So I've been like very privileged in being able to um, expand on like my musical knowledge. And those are all very like personal, independent things that don't really require you to seek out other people and learn from them. So I never really thought that that was necessary in my life until I came to RYLA, and more specifically kind of Interact, but RYLA really helped me um, kind of branch out in and like expand in the way that I interact with other people. So my freshman year, I joined Interact, and it's really uncommon because in my school the way that it works is that you're not allowed to really join a club until your second semester because of GPA things or something like that. But because I was in marching band, I had the whole summer to kind of look over all the clubs that I wanted to join. So by the first week of freshman year, I already knew that I wanted to be part of Interact. So I became involved through Interact, and I knew absolutely no one in that club as soon as I got in. So it was really nerve wracking because everyone already had friends, and I was kind of just like trying to incorporate myself, but I was a freshman too, so they didn't really want to hang out with me because not a lot of people like freshmen. but but yeah, so I got encouraged by one of the friends that I made in the club to become a historian, so like an officer in the club. So I ran for it, and I didn't really expect to get it, and I ended up getting it. And that kind of my work as historian paved the way for me becoming at first a conferee, and then from becoming a conferee to becoming a junior counselor. So after I finished being a historian, I went as a conferee to RYLA, and it really like helped me kind of cherish the bonds that you make with people and work on responsibility and leadership. And it was completely like David said, it was like a game changer. It was completely um, fascinating to me the way that you could be both responsible but also work with your peers to a common goal. And that led me to become vice president of my club because, you know, I enjoyed being a leader so much. And it was like a trait that I didn't know about myself that I actually found through RYLA, that I didn't know that I could be a leader and that I could like lead people into a common goal without like being like a dictator person. Because that's growing up, that's what I thought a leader was. And RYLA kind of helped me change my perspective on that. And then as when I became a junior counselor, it again changed the game completely for me because I had to deal with clashing personalities. And even though it was kind of complicated, I enjoyed it so much, and I got to create so many bonds with different people. And that catapulted me to become a um, a president in my club, which is something freshman me had no idea I could do. I didn't think that I could ever become the president of like this big major club that at first like seemed so big to me, but now like looking back at it with all the experience that I've learned is like not really that big. It's doable. It's so much more doable now. And I didn't know it was in my capabilities to do, but now through RYLA, I definitely see how it can be both enjoyable and something that I can do and something that I can manage. So yeah, I'm very thankful.
Melanie made a great segue into the connection between Interact and RYLA. Thank you, Melanie and David, for sharing your stories. Lots of attendees, or we call them conferees, because the award is conferred upon them and they're attending the conference. Either way, RYLA, we try not to call them kids, even though as Rotarians, it's real nice to say kids and we all understand it. They're not kids, they're young adults. They're growing from kidhood to adulthood, and we try to respect that a lot at RYLA. But she made the great connection there. She was a member of her Interact Club and rose in the ranks there. Not everyone who attends RYLA needs to be a member of an Interact Club. Many high schools have Interact Clubs and some high schools don't. So RYLA is open to everyone. In many cases, RYLA is the first exposure for that a young person or their family, or sometimes even their whole school, to Rotary. We sometimes have Rotarians that, I mean, the purpose of RYLA, of course, is to build leadership in young people, but Rotary is always thinking about membership, and sometimes parents of RYLarians become Rotarians. So it's all interconnected in so many different ways. Drew, were you able to cue up that quick video?
Only because David really wants us to show it. I got motivated. And
awesome. Thank you.
I don't want to let David down. I just met him, and it's not fair if I don't. Let me just try to
notice.
hold on just a second. Let me see what we got here.
Thank you, Rotary, for changing my life.
Many Rotarians don't even know that RYLA exists, and I hope that you can change that.
I hope you can change that.
Every teenager should have this opportunity. It's truly life-changing.
I didn't consider myself to be a leader until I went through the program.
RYLA allows teenagers to establish a real human connection
with other people our age that we wouldn't normally talk to in school.
My generation needs that more than anything. We are the future Rotarians. Thank you, RYLA, for changing my life.
Not too bad.
David, you're a star. You look great today and when that was filmed at RYLA 2 years ago when you attended as a conferee. So a couple of points, and we'll open this up for questions in a moment. I want to add a few things, and Sparkie will as well. What can you do to get your club more involved, or involved if you're not already involved with RYLA? The basic thing that most every Rotary club should be doing is providing student scholarships. Your club decides how many students to sponsor, and your club selects the students. Any high school sophomore or junior who exhibits leadership potential and is motivated to learn about teamwork, communication, and leadership is eligible to apply. Interact members and Rotarians, kids and grandkids are also welcome to apply. The application timeline is October through December. RYLA happens at the end of February. Something new we're doing this year, since we've got a few new Rotary clubs in the district and some clubs that have never participated in RYLA before. For any new club who has never sent a young person to RYLA, we're offering one free RYLA slot. That's $275 to sponsor a student for the RYLA weekend. And because we feel so strongly that once a club sends someone and they come back and see what that has done for them, every new Rotary club or Rotary club who has not yet sent someone to RYLA will be eligible for a slot. All we ask is that you remain engaged with that person, and don't worry, we'll hold your hand through it. The other way to become engaged in RYLA as an individual Rotarian is to become a senior counselor. There's an application process, also October. It starts. Many Rotarians dread the thought of spending a weekend with someone else's teenagers. And I'm here to tell you how serving as a counselor at RYLA can really spark a new fire in your Rotary life. That's how I first got involved. I have 3 grown kids. They all attended RYLA in my former district in Colorado years back. And I got involved sort of unexpectedly, inadvertently in RYLA, and now it's become my passion within Rotary. So you'll be working closely alongside a trained junior counselor like David or Melanie, and you will help them lead a team of 10 to 12 amazing young people as they each discover the leader within them. That's the senior counselor role. Sparkie, you had a few points to add.
The one thing I want to point out is that we have 3 of our senior counselors that joined us this year on this Zoom meeting. We have Rick and Calvin and Ariana. So we want to thank them it was a new program for us with having junior counselors and senior counselors, and we appreciated those Rotarians stepping up and jumping into a weekend with a lot of young people, and I'm sure they could probably share some of their thoughts. From Rolo handles the actual weekend programming. He chairs that part of it. I handle all the admin responsibilities that happen before the weekend, like registration, recruitment, communication with the clubs, getting the buses down there, and working with Seabase, which is where we have it, is on Isla Mirada, and it's the last weekend of February. What I can use from your clubs is, if you don't have a youth service director, or even if you do, we would like each club to assign or get a volunteer to be the liaison between the RYLA committee and your club. And we can provide everything you need for recruitment and, ideas on selection and how to get them registered, how to, look for funding. So that's my part of it. And I will, on the chat, I'll put our RYLA email. So if you have any information, if you need anything at all, I'm the contact for that. And then I'll, we also have a committee. So you can, if you don't want to brave being a senior counselor, there are other responsibilities in advance of the weekend that we could use some help with. So if you want to support the program, but going down for the weekend is not a possibility, let me know that also, and we'll find a slot for you. Let's see. We had some questions come from other sources. Let me look at chat right now, though. Let's see what.
I see a question from Susan Gingrich. Do you think we'll be able to have RYLA next year? It's probably too early to estimate, right? Absolutely. The final answer would be it's too early to really know, and we don't know what we're doing next month, and certainly not next year. But we are very fortunate in this district, just by luck of timing, that our RYLA for 2020 happened 2 weeks before the whole COVID mess at the end of February. And that gives us almost the full year, or 9 months or so from now, to get organized and hopefully have RYLA as we're accustomed to. Of course, we're following the guidelines of Seabase, which is a Boy Scout. It's a national Boy Scout camp where we are hosted there. They, of course, will be developing their own guidelines for safety and distancing and everything else. And we'll follow their guidelines. We'll also follow Rotary guidelines. But it is our hope that even with some precautionary changes, that by the end of February, we will be able to have RYLA, hopefully in its usual form or in some form.
Yeah, we are planning as if we're going to have it. There's a lot of work that is done in advance, and we're planning and we're doing that work with the hopes that we will be able to have RYLA as we know it. But again, we're learning a lot about flexibility.
Many RYLAs in other parts, every district does its own RYLA its own way. And I came from a district in Colorado that has multiple RYLA week-long programs over the summer. They've all been canceled for 2020. It's a whole generation, a whole year of kids that, of potential RYLarians that won't be able to attend. That's happening around the world, really, where summer RYLA programs, because of the timing with COVID, have had to be canceled. So we feel fortunate that we're hopefully escaping that.
Time will tell.
I can make a couple comments. Well, first, Lorianne, please jump in. Unmute yourself. Go ahead.
Hello, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. My club is a small club, and every year we would send and sponsor 3 kids from our 3 different Interact programs to RYLA. My club now has gotten smaller, and my biggest issue is I can't get them to sponsor and send the kids to RYLA. We didn't send anybody last year, and it kind of broke my heart because this club has always done that. But now they didn't want to do that. They didn't want to fundraise or whatever. My biggest question, I guess, is how do I get my club to see what a wonderful program this is and to sponsor at least one kid from, or one young adult from each of our Interact programs?
I can answer that for you in a few ways. First of all, if your club has more applicants than slots, that is, you've got kids who are applying or wanting to go, but you don't have the funds to do it, There are other clubs that have the funds to do it, but don't have enough applicants. So your club might potentially still be able to sponsor that student, though not financially, you're providing the student. So that's thank you for bringing that up, because that's a great example of an issue that some clubs have. Other clubs, like I said, have the issue of money but not students, and we match them with your club, and our RYLA registrar can help make that happen. It doesn't have to be a direct match of where the money's coming from and what school they're coming from. There are some clubs with the funds who would happily send the folks from your Interact clubs. But to answer your question the way you're wanting me to, I will tell you that your best bet is to have someone like David or Melanie, or maybe even someone who attended RYLA from your club recently, a few years ago. Reconnect with them and do a program at one of your club meetings. It can be at an in-person meeting once those restart, or it can be at a Zoom meeting, and we can have a young junior counselor or past RYLarian talk about their experience. We can answer questions, and I have found that once Rotarians see the importance of RYLA and see the amazing impact that it has on our young people, they tend to get behind it. I can't promise you that they'll go from 0 slots to 10 slots like who we'd want, but even if they do 1, then next year they'll do 2. And I have yet to work with a RYLA program. And a bit about my background: in addition to doing RYLAs in Colorado, I've consulted with RYLAs around the world and been on the International RYLA Committee. I've worked with lots and lots of RYLA programs, starting them and turning them around. And I have yet to find a single club or RYLA that once the Rotarians see the results of it, that it doesn't grow, that the club doesn't send more kids and find ways to do it, and that the RYLA itself doesn't grow. We have capacity for 120 students at C-Base. This past year, unfortunately, we only had about 90 students attend. So that's partly financial, but it's also partly the failure to properly connect with the students that are potential applicants.
Okay, well, I would love to adopt David and Melanie to come and definitely be guest speakers on our web meeting, Zoom meeting, and inspire my club to say, wow, you know what, this is an investment we should be making, and we should be sending at least a minimum of 1 child per Interact club that we have to this program. I think their inspiration is amazing.
Which club are you?
Coral Springs Parkland. So in our district, I'm the most northwest out there, last club out there in no man's land.
Okay.
You may find what we have found, that individuals in your club may say, even if the club doesn't want to sponsor, we have had individuals say, I want kids to go, I'll sponsor them personally. And that's wonderful. And also, one of the questions that came through on chat was, can't you go out in the community to help sponsor? Yes, of course. The funds do not have to come from your Rotary Club. The funds can come from your mother in Kansas that believes in youth training. It can come from anywhere. There was also a question that came up, and I know Rolo has probably addressed this one before, is does a student have to be sponsored, or can they pay their own way to come to RYLA?
Okay, so that's a great question, and one that will come up, especially as our RYLA program grows. It is a scholarship. The A in RYLA is award, okay? So it's a scholarship granted by Rotary. And the clubs select who they want to send. We do not dictate how the clubs select them. We suggest that you apply the 4-way test and open up the applications to the world and select the students that you feel are most eligible to go based on your own criteria. It's not a boot camp for problem kids at all. It's not a place for the star student council presidents only either. There are some of them, but it's for all sorts of folks that are exhibiting some leadership potential. So if you have a student that wants to sponsor themselves, I would encourage you to sponsor them and then accept their dollars to sponsor a student next year. That resolves, that is that gives you the opportunity to select them properly. And what you can do once you start having RYLarians come back and attending your meetings and talking about their experience at RYLA, you'll find some Rotarians at that point who want to raise their hand and sponsor another student. And again, you'll have parents who want to sponsor, but we don't recommend allowing students to pay their families to pay their own way directly. That might result in a conflict with the four-way test. There's a Laura who would like to share a comment.
Hi guys, Laura Leetard. I'm the current president and the incoming president for the Rotary Club of Key Largo. So much fun you do it twice, right? One of the things that we do after we send our young people to RYLA is they come back and they are our presentation. They're our speaker for a club meeting. And then the next year when it's time to, sign up more young people to go, if a Rotarian says, what is RYLA again? Then we can say, do you remember when these guys came last year and they spoke after we sent them? And that's a great reminder. But we always have young people at our morning meetings. They get excused and get to go to school a little bit late. So they come throughout the year. And then after they attend RYLA, they're so excited to come back and share it with the club. They're a little shy about standing up there, but once they get started and they do it with each other, they are a great speaker presentation to have for a meeting. And that definitely keeps it going and wanting our members to sponsor year after year.
Laura, that's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. We encourage every club to do that and invite their parents as well. And I have seen parents weeping at Rotary meetings when they see their child speaking to this group of intimidating adults because they had no idea that their child could do that. Any other questions?
And there's a couple questions on how to match up funds and students, and I posted our RYLA email address. So be in touch with me, and please, let me know who from your club is going to be your contact, and we'll work together to do the best we can to match up people with funds with people with students.
Carolyn had a question.
I have a question. We just started an Interact Club. I'm with the Pompano Lighthouse Club. And this past year, the students that were going to go, the student and the sponsor that were going to go to RYLA, for some reason, the school that they're part of didn't approve them to go because they needed more notice. Is that a normal thing that they have to have permission from the high school to go?
It depends how involved you are with the school. Any child can miss school on a Friday, and it's ultimately, this is not an official school program, and we find a variety of levels of beating our heads against the wall trying to get schools to understand what we're about. They're not going to take on the responsibility and call it a school program because they don't have no control over it or say over what goes on. Ultimately, it's the family deciding that their child is going to miss school on Friday, and they deal with that however they'd like. We don't get involved directly with this, forcing the school to allow the child to go under their terms. But it's absolutely worth it for a kid to miss school on one day. They've missed school for other less important reasons, I'm sure.
That's right. Thank you for the question, Carolyn.
Can I say something?
Please do, Rick. Thank you.
I've been a Rotarian almost 40 years, and last year was the first time I'd ever even heard of RYLA because of Sparkie joining our club. And, I always like kids. I've always supported working with kids. And I just didn't know this was around. And I did go as a senior counselor. I must say that, Rolo, you did a great job. I was just so impressed. The two outside speakers you brought in were incredible. I mean, they related to the kids related to them. And all the exercises reminded me of a lot of work I did many years ago and, self-improvement work in a lot of different workshops. So I just can't, say enough about what a wonderful program it is and what an opportunity for children, or not young adults, to participate in. And it was fun for me. They're long days, but boy, they went by quickly. It was just so much fun to watch, Melanie working with the kids, young adults, and them getting together and watching them, blossom like little flowers, over the 3 days. It was just, and at the end, like David was saying, it's just everyone just open, and people that just were shut down are now wide open after 3 days. It's pretty incredible. So I just take my hat off to all of you that put that on. I just can't say enough wonderful things about that program.
Thank you, Rick. We appreciate you having been there and having been such an awesome, supportive senior counselor for Melanie. And what you described is what we like to call the RYLA magic. And I know that sounds a little wacky, but you got to see it to believe it. And you'll first see it when Rylarians come back to your club and tell you about it, but to really experience it, come spend a weekend with us as a senior counselor. A little bit more on that, on the senior counselor opportunity. It is a lot of work, long hours during the weekend that you're there, but the training for it is only one full day. About a month before, we gather for one full day. The junior counselors have more training because they're the real leaders. The Rotarians, all we ask of you is one day at the end of January, and then those 3 days at the end of February. And if you have any doubts, hey, Calvin, tell us something about your experience there.
Just jumping in to echo the sentiment. Hey guys, how's everyone? I'm Cal from the Pinecrest Rotary. Just to jump in there, in today's world and dealing with this coronavirus 19, I never thought that I would have to use some of those tools that I learned at RYLA, like smiling with my eyes because I have a mask on. An incredible experience, and I'm using that kind of stuff today. I'm taking some things that I learned from our young leaders, like my word of focus, and I'm applying those kind of things to my leadership standards today, and those kind of core values that you're never too old to learn something new. And the young people they really brought a mindset that stretched me to a new dimension to learn about myself, what stress looks like on me when I'm under stress, and what it looks like on someone else. So I just wanted to share. Those are some of the tools that the RYLA put in my toolbox that I treasure and I carry with me today. So,
thank you, Calvin. Real quick, we need to move on to Drew. Go ahead.
Barbara has a question.
Okay. I am new to the RYLA program, even though I've been hearing about it for years. I'm in the Rotary Club of Weston, and I just came off of the public image session, which was mind-blowing. I think schools should want to send a kid or two to RYLA. So I'm sure with how sophisticated this organization is, that there are videos that we can send to the people in charge at the schools, and that would increase brand awareness and our brand equity, but also start engaging them at a younger age. And maybe this is being done, and I'm talking out of place, but I would be willing to get involved in this. I want to get involved. I want to be a counselor. And I'll mute myself now.
That's great. Well, Barbara, I've got your contact information, and you may regret that. No, but we need the help. We need the help in advance of the weekend to get the word out to the clubs, to the schools, to those who have students that they would like to, to sponsor. So thank you.
All right, Drew, back to you for the rest of youth services.
Oh, thank you so much, Rolo. You guys are fantastic. I got to tell you, before I met Rolo, when I heard his resume, I'm like, how much is he charging us? I want to know. He ran like week-long programs. I'm fantastic. So I want to kind of tie this together. And unfortunately, we got to end at about 10 of. We're running into overage too much. And I got to tell you, my always takeaway is when you have to end a meeting short, that's actually a good thing, because there's a lot of activity. People are excited about it, and there's going to be more and more conversation, especially with this thing over the next couple of years. Okay, so don't feel bad that we have to end it. It's actually fantastic on that. And I think you have two new counselors want to come in, Rolo and Sparkie. You got Laura does as well. But this doesn't get involved in the nautical flea market schedule, does it? Because you're in the same environment. You wouldn't be able to do it when the nautical flea market's there, correct? As far as the schedule. You got to unmute you, buddy. Yeah.
If you're asking me, I'm new to the area. I know nothing about the nautical flea market. I'm sorry. February 26th through 28th, the last weekend in February.
Okay, I think that would work out. We do the third weekend of February for gigantic nautical flea market.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. I was told by your the club Upper Keys that always is the weekend after President's Day for nautical.
Yes. Okay. Yep, third weekend. You guys said end. I wasn't sure if that meant the last or just not at the beginning of February.
Yeah, so right. So that ties into what I was going to mention to you guys too. They've asked me to take on youth services because I don't have anything else to do. But no, but I was sold on youth services the first time I was voluntold at Lorianne Conus's club to host a student for youth exchange. And after that, after I talked my wife into that, because she was not interested in that, I was sold on it. The experience was life-changing, just like David said. One thing I want our Rotarians to understand, Rick didn't know about RYLA. Barbara's just finding out about it. And you're just an idea of what I see across the district. We had 4 youth programs, everybody. Rotaract is not youth anymore. It's been elevated to a membership component now, as you heard Jennifer talk about last night. We talked about it before. So we have, if you go to a school and you say, listen, we have a youth leadership training that's fantastic, state-of-the-art, top-notch training for kids or students, as you said, young adults, leaders, future leaders, and current leaders. We have a youth exchange program that sends people out abroad. I'll cover that in a second. And we also have an Interact, which is like a mini Rotary in a high school. These are symbiotic if they're run correctly. And it doesn't matter what size club you have. It doesn't matter your clubs only does, service projects. They don't do youth. They do foundation. One of the things I preached last year, and if you think about it as we set away, is 2 things, actually. Given the environment of our world right now, do you think we need more Rotary and youth exchange and youth RYLA and youth programs or less? Okay, think about that for a second. These are absolutely critical things for us in our environments these days. The more students, the more young adults that we can get involved and share our knowledge with and do these problem-solving exercises they do at RYLA and other events that we do are life-changing. And those kind of things are going to put our society back where we want it to be. Now, that's a big statement to make, but if you step back and think about it, that teaches everything that we need these kids to know and what they're searching for. And I'm sure you guys, Melanie and David, can appreciate why I say that, right? It's seeing that everybody's different, everybody's is valuable, and not having these crazy concepts that are out there right now and all that. So that's my one pitch to everybody, is to think that we have these 3 programs that are fantastic. And every single club in this district, and I've seen them all recently as governor, and I can tell you without a doubt, every single club can participate in every single one of those programs. As Rolo said, there's strategies to get people involved. You don't have this, but you have that. Don't think you can't do it. And walk with the team like Rolo and Sparkie's team and the Interact team and the Youth Exchange team when we do that again, so that they are there to help your club strategize. You're going to get more members out of it. You're going to have more experiences out of it. And Rick is going to have life-changing moments like he had after 40 years in Rotary. Unbelievable statements. And I appreciate you sharing that, Rick, by the way. That's why Rotary is always valuable, always important to everybody, okay? Because no matter how long you've been, there's something there. Let me just cover Youth Exchange. We've tabled it for this year because of the lack of travel, obviously. You heard Jennifer touch on it a little bit and Holger touch on it this morning. But we're going to take a look at maybe doing that next year, but it's on a case-by-case basis. Youth Exchange is life-changing stuff too, but it's a year ahead of time in the planning. Okay, so it's kind of tough. If RYLA is tough to figure out if we're going to do in February next year, Youth Exchange even tougher. But we're going to be looking for other solutions like inter-country exchanges, local exchanges, short-term exchanges, because the whole point of exchanges is you immerse yourself in a culture where you don't know and learn a language and learn how they do things. It's a fantastic life experience. So look for different variations of how we do youth exchange. Terrell will still be on it. I'll be helping Terrell with that, who's on the call today. But understand that that's the pitch when we go to a school. We have programs that don't cost the school anything, and we want to help you. But it's going to help our clubs too, because we have a lot of clubs that need help as well. So that's kind of what I wanted to finish up on that. If you have any questions for me, I will. Just one last comment. I'm building a youth services team. So those that want to get involved, you can do both. And then we're looking at having regional players. So you don't have to travel a lot, right? So somebody in the Keys, upper and lower. Somebody, maybe multiple people in Dade, multiple people in Broward, due to the size. And definitely people we already identified a youth service chair in the Bahamas a couple of weeks ago. So that role would be to steward these programs, to help clubs be the liaison, to help Rolo and Sparkie's team, to help the Interact team to get established and help clubs solve those problems and do what's good for the club. The club's got to want to do it, though. We're not going to force clubs to do any of this stuff. But when you get a little taste, like Rolo was saying before, a little taste leads to more, and then people want more of it. I was sold, like I said, on Youth Exchange the first time we hosted somebody. Done. I'm in. The whole rest of my life, we're going to do something with that program. Okay. So that's kind of it. Just as stay tuned on that. I'm looking to build that team. So when you're jumping in, you could definitely do the counselor, or I can also have people do the youth service chair position. But whatever you guys want to jump in on, please don't hesitate. We're happy to have it. We'll find a spot for you. Okay. So I'll stop right there. A couple of quick questions, or not, we can end the meeting now if you guys have no questions for us. Anybody, raise your hand or chat.
I have a question.
Please, Anna. Go ahead.
Yes. Does a student that is a candidate for RYLA, does it have to be a member of Interact in a high school?
No.
Or could be outside?
No, exactly.
RYLA is open to anyone. They do not need to be a member of Interact or have any other Rotary contact. They can be, but they do not need to be.
Think of these as awards.
Perfect. Thank you.
Anna, think of these, and everybody, as awards or scholarships. It's an award that's rewarded for because we believe in them. Okay, it doesn't matter if they're Rotary or not. Same thing with Youth Exchange. You don't it's not for Rotarians. It's for human beings. Okay, think of it that way. Go ahead.
And thinking about, because private schools, public schools, even homeschooled.
Right.
You know, think outside the box. Every student, sophomore or junior, would be eligible to be considered.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Glad to know.
Do you think now is the time that we should be talking to school principals, because they're going to be planning for the next year? Now is the time that we need to let them know the dates for RYLA so that they don't plan other things. That's what happened this year with our RYLA students. We had Interact students that were torn between participating in a school event or going to RYLA.
So let me qualify that real quick. One of the things we're going to do with the youth service team is develop a calendar. So we don't have this happen, right? With school functions, with vacations and holidays and other things happen in Rotary world. And then we're also going to develop a database so we know what's out there. We don't even know the list of Interact clubs right now, believe it or not. And we barely know Rotaract clubs too, for that matter. So that's the first two missions of the team, is to get that database and then work with Rolo and Sparkie's team to take the lead on that, because that's such a well-run program. That's definitely something to lead with.
If you do have a relationship with your particular high school, please do go ahead and get them the dates. We know the dates that we have scheduled, so go ahead and get that on their school calendar.
Excellent. Thank you. Also, one on that topic, I did speak briefly with Mr. Runcie, or Dr. Runcie. I'm not sure he's a doctor, who's superintendent of Broward County. Well, that was before a lot of political stuff happened with him, and then obviously COVID stuff. But I went to him and I said, you know, we have 4 youth programs since before a Rotary change. Love to sit down with your leadership team to see how we can help the school district. So we want to hit it from top down and bottom up type thing. The superintendent of Monroe County, by the way, Laura, is a Rotarian in Key West. And the superintendent, Dade Cavallo, he is an honorary member of Coral Gables Club. I don't know that he goes that often, but he does present to their club. So we want to look at longer term. That's not going to happen right away, but longer term, having those relationships top down, bottom up. So we're hitting from multiple angles from that point, okay? So guys, really appreciate the time. I'm going to have to end the meeting. Sorry to do that. Rolo and Sparkie cannot thank you guys enough for taking this program to another level. And hopefully we'll blow the doors off of that 120 number at some point, Rolo. We're gonna have to find another location.
Love that.
Thank you guys so much. This is being recorded, like all the sessions are gonna be up on our website. And please continue the conversation past today. This was a taste today, okay? And we're gonna keep going, all right? Thank you guys so very much.
Thank you all for attending.
You got it. Thank you guys. We'll see you guys on the next session.